For my ethnographic interview, I chose the Jolokwati people. It's a small people group that live on the western coast of southern Senegal. And for the past 2 years, I've been leading teams from churches to travel into Senegal and do international church planting. I've made about 10 trips in these past 2 years, and so I've been able to experience a lot of Kwati culture. Some of my closest friends there are Jolokwati, so it's really fun to be able to take a minute and sit down and ask some more direct questions about their people group and about their beliefs and their worldview. To also add on to some of the things that I've been able to see and experience over these last 2 years. So my ethnographic interview comes from both my experiences and direct interviews. And one of the things that I want to focus on today is Kwati traditional religious beliefs. In West Africa, animism is the main form of religion, and so we have animists there, you have Muslims, and you have Christians, but most of the groups, even inside of Islam and inside of Catholicism, they have animistic beliefs that have been blended in. And so most Kwati see themselves first as animist and then second as something else. And so they have what they call the fetish there. It's a spirit that they try to appease through doing blood sacrifices, and they either sacrifice chickens or pigs or cows to depending on the different types of problems that they're having. And these fetishes are run by fetish priests. Each family has a certain fetish that they go to do sacrifices, and these different fetishes by these families usually take care of different problems. So there's a fetish for sickness, there's a fetish for needing money, there's a fetish for if you have a problem in your life. And so different people come to these family priests and they bring sacrifice, allow them to do a ceremony to appease these spirits. Now the Kwati people believe in one God that's all powerful and over all these fetishes, but the only way to be able to get to this God is through the fetishes. And they believe actually when they are doing sacrifice to the fetishes that they're providing food for their ancestors in another place. And I found it interesting. I learned that they believe that once a good person dies, they actually go to a village in Guinea-Bissau. That's a country right below southern Senegal. And so they think that their heaven is a known village in Guinea-Bissau, and there's people in Guinea-Bissau that think that their heaven is a known place in Senegal. And so it's interesting to see this dynamic, and they think that their relatives go there and live there, and as they're doing sacrifices to these fetishes, that they're really providing food for these ancestors who have passed away. But they believe over time that they won't just go to these villages and other places, but eventually they'll go to a perfect place. Their true concept of heaven, a spiritual world outside of that. And for someone who's bad in their religions, for someone who's morally wrong, they steal, they lie, they hurt other people, they believe that these spirits, they don't go directly to these other villages that they see as kind of their meeting place for their ancestors. Instead, they are brought back as evil spirits, and they roam around as evil spirits until a hyena eats them. And then once the hyena eats them, once they are through this evil spirit part, they actually go and they're reunited with their ancestors. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics that go on with West African animism, and it's really hard to really differentiate different people there. Because like I said, the Muslims, they also do the animistic practices. The Catholics, they do the animistic practices. So the believers there, they see everybody kind of all as animist. And it's the true evangelical believers that are in the area that are facing persecution because they've went away from these practices. One of the most important practices and rites of passage in the Kwati people group is the circumcision ceremony for their boys. It happens once a generation, so it can be up to 40 years. What they do is they take boys out into a sacred forest and they do circumcision on them, and they do sacrifices to the fetishes during this time and invite the fetishes to come in and take control of the boys' lives during this time, and they use this as a rite of passage for a boy to become a man. And then when the last boy gets married from that group, they do another circumcision ceremony. So it can be years and years and years until they had it. And they actually just recently had one, so it was a significant event. And a lot of the believers are pressured to do those circumcision ceremonies, and when they stand up against these animistic practices is usually when persecution comes. Overall, though, I've really enjoyed getting to know the Kwatai people. I love their sense of humor. I love their hospitality. I love just being able to go over and actually be friends with them. I've been able to go to a wedding and see some of their cultural practices in the time that I've been traveling. And I've really enjoyed just seeing how much they care for other people and seeing how they view the other parts of the world around us. And so if you ever get a chance, I highly suggest you go to Southern Senegal and check it out.